Hi, come on in for a moment with Celeste. We're going to do our little walkthrough today of the Tale of Peter Rabbit, a little golden book that I completed yesterday. And if you'd like to see how we put this together, I did a live yesterday and I did a live a couple of days before that you can go back and look at here for the next 30 days. And then I will put it also on YouTube. I have a YouTube site, Moments with Celeste, there as well, where I saved as many of my videos as I possibly can. So here we go. Tale of Peter Rabbit, a little golden book. I tied this book together with a piece of Nani's red dirt stained gauze, keeping with the theme of Peter Rabbit in his garden, right? And then added some lace, some trims, kept my little golden spine there intact, added some more of the red dirt trim there. And then I just put in some little fun little fringes up there, gave it kind of a bunny look. And then the back cover I ended up putting, I took some chipboard letters that spelled out bunny, and then I added some fabric on top of the paper. And then I cut apart one of the Dollar Tree bunny bags and painted on the ears there, and then I just trimmed it out, and a little button that says good day, gave it a little headband, and that's the back of the book. And then this is always one of my favorite parts, is this part here where you see all the pretty laces that are added to the paper edges. So let's go through this. The inside of the cover, I took one of the bunny bags and I glued the whole bag on and to make a pocket. And then I always like to add little treats in my little books that are going to go to kids. So these are some Easter treats of Mike and Ike's tasty little treats. And then we put some trims in here as well. And then on the first page here, I added this fun little whimsical little frilly trim for the page. And then we'll start our story. I added a little hinge pocket here. And in that little hinge pocket is a little tag. It says warm welcome. And then it says, do you live under a big tree? And what does your house look like? All these little tags that you'll see in this book are to get the child to be engaged and interacting with the story. Over here on Mama Bunny, we added some ribbons and little buttons, and then put some fabric here. I have some muslin-like fabric here on her little apron. I added some little fabric down here that was it's like a blankets inside of the bag. I put up here a little metallic round to make it a little mirror, and then some little fabric down here, just that was on the patch of the purse. And then we trimmed this one out with the lace. Up here, the same thing. I just kind of carried that theme with Mrs. Rabbit having the little ribbon on her band of her coat. Here I cut out some fabric flowers from a piece of fabric and glued those on there. Over here we have another hinge pocket, and this one here has a little tuck card in it. And this little tuck card here, I haven't filled it out yet, but it has blueberries or blackberries because they're working in the blackberry garden. And then I'm going to put a little question in here about, talking about this page. And then here we just have a pretty little metallic-y looking little flower that we've added. I loved this trim right here. This was a favorite. Added a little flower up here. Over here, it's talking about him in the garden, and he was eating the radishes and he got sick. So I just made a little flip up. It says, what would you eat in the garden? And then shows all the radishes under there. And this was a radish on the top of this picture. Here I took a paint sample card and just cut it out with some waves. and made that as a trim on this page, and then put some different colored buttons. Over here I added some stickers that are 3D. You may not be able to see them really well here, but they're a 3D sticker, and added them where the foliage was at. Down here I added some grass in the grassy area that he was in. This was an old piece of vintage trim that I added. Over here I've got to put a little pom-pom on his tail and a little fabric cloth little flower there. Over here Peter is hiding in the watering can, so I just added some like splashes of water coming out of the can. And then this little pocket we made out of it was a clear plastic that had wavy designs, and it says hop to it. And then inside of it is a little tuck card. I put some stickers on it, and it says, how do you know that Peter is in the can? How do you know that Peter is in the can? I bet you can figure that out. And then we put fabric trim here. Here Mr. McGregor is looking under all the clay pots to see if he can find Peter. So over here I added, this was my first signature, and this is the middle signature. And this one's just a big pocket signature that I love to stuff full of goodies. So I had a little picture of a clay pot, the printable that I cut out. I made the pocket. I put some little white little bunny fur on here. I did some lace swag. I went and I added a little Dollar Tree little carrot in there. And then I put in a little bunny sticker in here as well for the child to be able to use how they choose. And then here's this lace. Inside, just added some little embellishments. Thought this was so cute. This is some fabric on a piece of paper. So in here I made a little pocket out of some fabric, and it's a match game. And I just made this little match game. It's got different vegetables and things you'd find in the garden that they can play with. And then this is another little tag. It says, can you hop like a rabbit? And then I just decorated the back up with some fabrics. And then here's a mommy rabbit reading to her little baby rabbit. Over on this side, this pocket, I got to use my big jumbo rickrack. And then I just put a little toy in here. It's called Squishy Pals. And it has a couple little animals in there, just for the fun of it. Trimmed this with some fringe. And then some big wide eyelet here. And then on the back side of the pocket, I had this printable. And so I cut, these are two different printables. I cut this one out, and you can see how I left it so it kind of sticks out. And then I cut the mommy and the rabbit out, and then I made this one a pocket. So I took this, I took some gauze on the green, and a little box of carrots in the dirt and a planter. And then the questions would be, how do you think Peter felt when Mr. McGregor was looking under the pots? Okay, so this goes in here, and that's the little tuck card. And so I kind of angled it so it kind of hides the carrots a teeny bit, but like that. Okay, then just added some more embellishments. Over here, I took a thread puddle and just put it in there because it kind of blended in with the color of the dirt, and I put a little flower on it just to give some texture to the page. And then, of course, added that little bunny pom-pom. Over here, Peter's sitting up and he's looking over, so I put this little pocket in that I thought looked like a tree trunk, and then it had the little garden watering can. So I just made a tiny little pocket clip here, and it just says, hello. And then over here, I added some plastic greenery to the vines, just to, again, give it texture, and then put the little bow ribbon on here. And then on this side here, she was holding peas, and I actually had some fabric that had some peas on it. So I cut one off and just laid it down here, and you can feel the texture of that. And then over here is another hinge pocket. It's a kind of a theme of mushrooms and things. And in this one here, so you can see this here, you can still see the picture. This one here, I put a pea on some fabric here, And what is your favorite vegetable? And then over here, the kitty cat is looking at the goldfish. So I took some white fur and put on the kitty cat to make it look like a fuzzy cat. Added fabric. Over here in the garden, made a little flip that looks like a little seed packet and opened it up. And it says, how do gardens grow? And this was a piece off of a quilt block that I had that someone had painted with Arctic years and years ago. And then I added this little birdie up here. I love this trim. Isn't that pretty? That's a very vintage one as well. On this page here, we added some of the faux flowers and a butterfly sticker. And here I took some fabric and I just made a little fabric pocket and added a piece of paper with the little bird sticker. And then inside I tried to mimic the jacket that Peter wore. And how do you think Peter felt when he got out of the garden? Because that's what this page was all about, him getting out of the garden. And then I love this fringe. Put some of that greenery 3D on there. For here is another little flip tag I made. Little seed packets and the release. A couple different questions in there for them to look at. And then here, Peter made it home and he is exhausted and they're all looking at him. So the question in here is, what are the names of Peter's 3 sisters? Do you know? And then we put the little pom-pom trim. And then here is the last page. After he got home, he was sick. They were eating the blackberries here. Just made a little flippy with the blackberries. And he's up here in bed and he had a blanket on. So I kind of put some more lace on top of that. And Mother has a spoon and she's giving him some blackberry syrup for his cough. And I just happened to have a little wooden spoon in my stash that I put in there just for fun. The child can take it out and pretend that they're taking some of that blackberry syrup as well. And then on that inside of the back cover, I made another pocket. In here, I always like to put my colored pencils. I have a little tag, and it says, what was your favorite part of this story? And then I have pulled up some little game papers that are Peter Rabbit theme, and just tuck those in there. And then that way, the child has something to do with the colors. There's a coloring sheet in there as well. And then we're to the back of the book. And so you can see how thick this book ended up being. And so that is why we tie it very tightly, because that is going to hold it all together. So I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough today. I enjoyed making this with you on my lives. And my next project that I have underway, I've got a couple other little bunny ones that are going to be coming up. One of them is going to be a decoupage tray with a beautiful rabbit. And then we're going to do, I think I'm going to do a wavy journal. But just be watching for Moments with Celeste, because I'll be back. Bye-bye, everybody.